Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have a very fun unboxing today as I just have received a box of a purchase that I made from the one and only Shane Folks of Cretaceous Creations of America. He's been listing some dinosaurs recently for sale, like some older figures. I was able to acquire quite a few older Safari LTD figures and stuff from him, and I didn't make an unboxing or anything because it was only like 5 or 6 figures. I probably could have, and it still would have been a fun unboxing, but I just kind of threw them up on the shelf and moved on with my day. And he actually had posted a few more figures recently for sale, and I thought this stuff was a little bit more interesting, so I decided to go ahead and break the box open, but I haven't actually pulled anything out because these are actually the Dino Warriors figures, and I had actually done an unboxing a ways back of some Dino Warriors figures that were my first initial introduction to them. I had never really seen them before. I spotted some figures on Mercari, and I thought they looked really neat, so I purchased them and found out that it was a pretty good deal for what I had purchased. And I know they are really quite hard to find, so when I had seen that Shane was selling kind of a little lot of them, I had contacted him about purchasing them, and he made me a pretty good deal on them, so I took him up on the offer and purchased them. Again, I don't know much at all about these figures. Andy Simmons, who was kind enough to give me kind of like a checklist or a link to go to a checklist to figure out what figures I would need to complete the set. So a huge thank you to him. A little ways back he had contacted me about that. But I still am going to be really quite far from completing this line, and I probably never will actually complete the entire line because of the fact that there are a lot to it. But again, when he was selling these, I thought, why not? I might as well buy them and get a few more of them because I really like the first round of them. So I'm going to bring them in here one by one. And he has them kind of like wrapped in bubble wrap. And this one straight away is actually really big. I think this is probably the biggest one out of all of them included in this box. Wow, that thing is really cool looking. Again, these figures are so neat. They're so unique and different than most dinosaur figures, and definitely a very fun looking, weird kind of a mutant dinosaur thing. This definitely looks like a theropod of some kind, and I don't think I might have had like one small theropod from my first round of figures, so it is nice to actually have a theropod here at all. There's like some hair or something on it, but this is really neat looking actually. So it's nice to have my first kind of larger theropod style of these Dino Warriors figures, and I do believe a few of these that were included in the lot I do already have, but odds are they're in better shape most likely from Shane, so I'm really intrigued to get them again and have a little bit better condition on them. But again, I'm very unfamiliar with the figures in general, so I'm really not going to know too much about them until afterwards, where I kind of look into them a little bit better as far as which ones were the figures that I have received here in this little group of them. But unfortunately, even though my buddy Andy Simmons had sent me a link to them, I kind of drifted away from them, I would say, a little bit, and wasn't really looking for them too intently because of the fact that they are really hard to find. So it was like an every once in a while search type thing, so I didn't become as familiar with them as I probably should have, but it's nice to have some more. And then we've got another one. Of course, Shane wraps his stuff really well here. He always packages everything up really nicely. And this one, oh, this one's really neat too. So it's another theropod type of a dinosaur, which is awesome because like I've been eyeing some of them up, or at least I was for a little while there, eyeing some of these ones up on eBay because of the fact that I didn't really have any theropods with my, group that I got before, and it's really cool to actually see some and have some here right now. Again, lots of really nice articulation on these super strange looking dinosaur figures. But I really love just how realistic and lifelike they look. Like the paint application of these is just way better than you would expect it to be on this type of a figure. Like, for one thing, the entire idea behind this, like the appearance to these figures is so creative and so different. They almost look like alien dinosaurs. I really, really enjoy these figures because of the incredibly realistic approach they take to both the sculpt and paint. Like, they're uber creepy looking, but at the same time really quite realistic looking, and it's honestly blowing my mind just how good these figures are. I really am going to have to look into them a little bit further to find out like how much did they cost for retail when the figures were initially out, because with this amount of paint, like this style figure, like they probably should have cost a pretty hefty price tag because of how good and high quality they are. But this is another really neat one that I'm really excited to have. I didn't realize when I purchased these that there were, so many of these kind of like larger theropod versions. I was just totally unaware. I kind of just took a quick look at the images and saw a few in there, and I knew that there was enough that it was worth buying for me because they were ones that I didn't have, but I do believe there were some that I do have already, but I wasn't, again, totally aware of the fact that I was going to be getting some of these larger ones like this, and they're really awesome. And then we've got yet another one in here, so we will pull this out right now. And we've got this one, which I don't remember if I have this one or not. This one definitely looks familiar, I can say that much. And it certainly looks like, potentially like one of the ones that I had acquired in my last round, but I don't remember getting any that like were like this where they just didn't have anything on the back. But of course, it could have just been taken off by the person that had owned them prior to me or Shane. I'm not sure if they were his kids exactly or what, but that's another really cool looking one. And again, I really like the paintwork. I love the fact that they apply such nice dark washes to these figures, and overall, again, have a very, very realistic and lifelike appearance to them. Very interesting one again. And then actually, kind of talking about what I was just saying, we have a bag in here which has like some harnesses and stuff on them. So potentially maybe these harnesses here go to the one that I was just looking at. And maybe that's why I'm a little confused as far as it not having anything on its back. That could be why this might go to it. And then here's one that fell out of the bubble wrap in the packaging. And this one I definitely didn't have. I know that much for sure because this is a very interesting one that I've never seen before. Really cool looking yet again. They're just so strange. I would like to see like a movie or a show or something based around these because of the really neat and very eerie look to the figures. It would be something that I feel like would come off really well from a movie standpoint, as far as like giving you that creepy kind of a scary giant monster type thing coming after you, or dinosaur like monster. And another really neat one, they're so good at coming up with these like really creative appearances to the figures. And then we've got another one here, and this is also one that I definitely didn't have, so it is nice to know that there were so many in here that I didn't have in my collection prior. Another really neat looking one. I like how he's got like these spikes around his neck right there. All of these like quadruped ones sort of remind me of like very strange sauropods, but at the same time they almost have like a if you've ever seen the film Evolution, like I feel like they were like they'd be something that would have appeared in the Evolution movie, and a little stiff in the joints because I'd imagine they haven't been really moved around too much in quite some time. But another very neat looking one, pretty darn nice looking paint scheme and paint application. Again, so many different tones of color have been applied to these, so they're really, really neat as far as the paintwork goes, like really high quality. And then we've got a bag full of what appears to be like, I don't know what you would call them. I mean, like the equivalent of like human type characters, but we'll pull them out. So again, I'm really unfamiliar with the Dino Warriors line, and I also don't even know for sure if all of these are technically, I dropped them, technically Dino Warriors figures, but he looks again about to be the most equivalent to a regular human as you could possibly find. But then we've got like this weird guy here, which also looks pretty neat. And prior to this, I was not able to get any of this style figure. Like all I was able to get were like some of the dinos. And it is nice to have some of these in here as well, just generally giving me more of a desire to collect the rest of the line because I don't have to search all of these out one by one. Another really neat looking one right there. I'll have to figure out which, dinos and stuff that these guys go with. Yet another one, and I like that these are all different, so they're very cool looking as far as having their own unique look and everything like that. And they actually stand pretty nicely when I get the feet into position. I don't know if this is like the actual coloration of their clothes or if just the paint has worn off, but he almost looks like he would be naked. We've also got this guy who looks a lot less naked now that he actually has blue pants. Another one of these like almost ogre-like creatures. Like, I don't know, they're very strange, but really neat looking. Again, just having these figures here in general and kind of like building onto the line in my collection has me really curious to learn more about them. And then we've got like a baggie full of weird things like weapons and all kinds of stuff right here. So again, I'm definitely going to have to search up images of these figures to figure out what pieces go with what characters so that I can display them correctly. And then we have yet another one here that is just out of the bubble wrap. Okay, this guy looks like a straight up dragon. Very cool looking yet again, but definitely very dragon-like with this kind of crest on the back of his head right there. I really don't recall seeing this one in his image that he had shared. I mean, it's definitely possible that it was there and I completely overlooked it, but I really like this one because it's very different than the rest. Like, a very different coloration as far as this green. There's actually a lot of different tones of green and even some blues included in this figure, but also just a very different look to the dinosaur dragon thing, whatever, entirely from the others. And then we've got yet another one, and this one also is another I did not have. So this is really cool that there's so many in here that I didn't have. I may be making a pretty good dent as far as this line goes now with my initial box full that I was able to acquire and now this box, because it's nice to see that there are very few repeats as far as the figures that I do already have. And that's another really neat one. Almost looks like he's sort of turtle-like as far as the overall appearance goes. But again, I love the paint jobs of these and the detail is so good. And then the final one is this one, and this one I actually do believe I have. Pretty sure he was included in the first group of figures that I was able to acquire, but I'm not 100% sure. But again, another really cool looking one, very Ceratopsian-like, I will say that for sure. So we have everything right here that I have acquired with this lot, again, of figures. I paid, I think, $45 for all of this, so in my opinion, that was beyond a steal. Such a huge deal as far as these figures go for that price tag. And again, I wasn't super aware of the fact that there were like these larger theropods and stuff included. And I kind of had Shane, unfortunately, waited out a few days because I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to make the purchase. And I also wasn't 100% sure if I would have the funds to make the purchase. But luckily, I did have enough to make the $45 price tag, and I'm really psyched now that I did because there's actually a lot of really good stuff here that, again, I didn't have, and in general, seeing them here in person and in hand, they are way nicer than I expected them to be, just like with the first round of these Dino Warriors figures. So some super awesome stuff that I was recently able to acquire I wanted to share with you guys as I unboxed them and got a first look. Some really, really cool stuff. So a huge shout out and thank you goes out to Shane Folks, who sold these to me and helped me to acquire this awesome lot of Dino Warriors figures. So make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.